Both my sister and I were bound to the life turnaround system. My sister chose the beauty system, while I opted for the academic genius system. Unexpectedly, my sister lost her beauty and fell into poverty because she couldn't earn a man's genuine love. Meanwhile, I became the youngest academician, shining in the field of cutting-edge physics, and was pursued by the heir of J City's most powerful family, achieving both fame and fortune. My sister, driven by jealousy, ran me over with her car and killed me. When I opened my eyes again, we had both been reborn on the day the system was bound. My sister took the first step and chose the academic genius system. Sister, this time, let me become the top genius in academia in your place. I watched her smug smile and slowly curved my lips. She didn't know that all gifts from fate come with a price. It wasn't until Linda ran me over with her car that I realized she had always regretted her choice back then. At the age of 16, both Linda and I were given a chance to bind with a system and turn our lives around. The mysterious person said, "We only have one chance to choose. Would you prefer unparalleled beauty or to become a top academic genius? You only get one chance in life to choose. Have you made up your mind?" In her past life, my younger sister chose the beauty system, firmly believing that beauty was the key to entering high society. But when she truly ascended through beauty and glimpsed a broader world, she realized that beauty wasn't actually a scarce resource. She was merely treated as a dessert by the wealthy young men, never receiving their genuine love. They were infatuated with her beauty, but it was only a fleeting pleasure. In the end, my sister, unable to obtain true love, lost all her beauty, was abandoned by her sugar daddy, and fell into poverty and unbearable suffering. Meanwhile, I became bound to the academic overachiever system, became the youngest academician, and was pursued by Frank, the heir of J City, whom my sister could never win over, achieving both fame and fortune. After she killed me out of jealousy, we returned to being 16 years old once again. This time, before the mysterious figure could finish speaking, my younger sister shouted loudly, "I choose the academic overachiever system." The mysterious figure revealed half of their face, smiling as they looked at the younger sister. "But just now, you said you wanted unparalleled beauty. The system is derived from your innermost desires. Do you truly wish to become a top student?" The younger sister, greedy and eager, replied, "Yes, yes, yes, I must become a top student. Beauty is nowhere near as important as intelligence." The mysterious figure pondered for a moment before turning to me. "And what about you?" Seeing that the mysterious figure actually asked for my opinion, my sister suddenly rushed forward and snatched the colorful light sphere from their right hand. The light sphere merged with her upon contact. Her sister's eyes gleamed with ecstasy. "Perfect, this time, fame, fortune, and the chance to be pursued by Frank, they're all mine." The mysterious figure remained motionless, only his smile growing gentler. "You can only bind with the beauty counterattack system now." The mysterious figure handed me another glowing orb, their body gradually turning transparent before disappearing completely. "The gifts bestowed by fate have been entrusted to you. Please, hosts, complete your tasks earnestly and enjoy a happy life." My younger sister was entirely absorbed in her newly bound system. She raised her head and sneered at me. "Elder sister enjoyed so many benefits in your past life. It's my turn this time." I looked at her, slowly curling my lips without speaking. Linda still didn't realize that the so-called gifts from fate are not without their price. Even with the aid of machines, people still need to put in effort. Linda began to enjoy the benefits brought by the system. At the very beginning, our systems all provide cheat abilities. The academic genius system enhances Linda's memory and comprehension, making her study efforts twice as effective. She delightfully shows off her photographic memory skills to teachers and classmates. How did Linda suddenly become so smart? It's truly enviable. Linda was floating on air, basking in everyone's flattery. Catching sight of me out of the corner of her eye, she covered her lips with a light laugh. "Actually, my sister studies hard at home too, but she just can't seem to focus." Sigh. If she were willing, I could share my study methods with her, but she refuses to ask me. The desk mate who wanted to ask Linda for the problem-solving approach immediately followed up by saying, "Ah, Heidi isn't smart, Linda. Even if you teach her, it's useless." Born to the same mother, how come Linda is so smart while Heidi is so dumb? I looked at my math test paper with a score of 124. Actually, my grades aren't that bad now, but Linda often reinforces stereotypes in her words, making people think I secretly study at home and am jealous of my sister's grades. During school days, everyone always has a filter for top students, especially for people like Linda, who can do well in studies without even trying. intelligence is a scarce resource, hard to come by, which makes it particularly enviable. The boys in class started teasing me on purpose, trying to get my attention. The beauty system was also revealing its power. Linda and I used to look very similar, but I gradually started developing, taller, with a slimmer waist, fairer skin, and even more beautiful eyes and brows. In this school where everyone goes barefaced, people have started to notice my stunning beauty. What's the use of being pretty? A student's main duty is to study. Exactly, Heidi may be pretty, but Linda is so smart. My idol is still Linda. Hearing this, Linda was quite pleased with herself. I watched coldly from the sidelines, never saying an extra word to her. She didn't know that the top student system didn't make people smarter for nothing. In her past life, she had to win over others and gain the genuine admiration of the chosen one. And I also need to put in exponentially more effort, burying myself in hard work, to achieve academic results. Being smart alone is not enough. Those who reach the top are never lacking in talent. In the end, what everyone is really competing over is who works harder and who can endure the loneliness of not seeing results. In this world, there are many beautiful people, and there are also many smart people, but not everyone can achieve success, to appear glamorous in public. One must put in double the effort behind the scenes. Fate never rewards those who seek to gain without working. Linda quickly secured the top spot in her grade. Surrounded by her were all top achievers with outstanding grades, but she noticed that, unlike in her previous life, I didn't seem to be isolated by all the girls. On the contrary, everyone still chatted and laughed with me as usual. She couldn't understand why, despite possessing the same beauty, being featured on the confession walls several times, and becoming the school's recognized belle, I didn't attract jealousy from my peers. In fact, in her past life, people disliked her not because of her beauty. Heidi, after school I'll take you out to sing karaoke. Want to come? The school bully Lucas from the next class appeared at the classroom door again. Lucas comes from a wealthy family. His father has connections in both legal and illegal circles, owning the largest entertainment complex in the city, all part of the Duncan family's business empire. With such a background, even teachers dared not offend Lucas. In my past life, Lucas pursued Linda with the same fervor. At that time, Linda was very flamboyant, often riding on the back of Lucas's motorcycle, showing off as they cruised through the streets, like the heroine of a youth novel. She skipped classes every day while others studied hard, bullying classmates under Lucas's influence. So, even though she was unbelievably beautiful, many people still disliked her, but I didn't follow the same path as her. Lucas leaned his hands on my desk, looking down at me from above. He was good-looking, generous with money, and had many admirers, but he had a bad temper. Are you going or not? Just give me an answer. I shook my head. No, I'm going home today. This was the fourth time I'd turned down Lucas. He was clearly losing patience, his eyes flashing with irritation, and the looks from the people around us only made him angrier. Heidi, don't push your luck when given face. While I still like you, don't play hard to get here. Everyone watched the farce in silence, not daring to speak. After all, Lucas had just beaten a student who offended him into serious hospitalization last month. I lowered my eyes and pinched my thigh hard. Then she raised her head, her eyes reddened and brimming with tears. Lucas, how could you do this? Lucas's rising anger immediately subsided, and he scratched his head in confusion. Damn, I didn't even say anything about you. Can you stop crying? If you don't want to go, then don't. But I ignored him, sniffled, wiped my tears, and ran out of the classroom. No choice. If I didn't run, I wouldn't be able to cry anymore. I have to admit that beauty can sometimes be a weapon. But it's a double-edged sword. When misused, it only harms oneself. Going head-to-head with Lucas is clearly unwise. Showing appropriate vulnerability is what keeps me in a safe zone. Without the means to protect myself, a beautiful face is like a child carrying gold through a bustling marketplace. But I don't intend to follow Linda's example and find a strong, powerful man to protect me. Entrusting one's life to a stranger and relying on beauty to hold them is clearly a decision that goes against human nature. No matter how beautiful a flower is, there will come a day when it no longer captivates. A canary is destined never to soar to great heights. What I aspire to be is an eagle, free to soar. I may look slender, but I can actually run very fast. By the time Lucas came out looking for me, I had already disappeared, in the dilapidated storage room. I sat on a tumbling mat with its stuffing coming out and pulled out the vocabulary notebook I had stuffed into my bag during the chaos. Perfect, quiet and ideal for memorizing words, I silently recited while setting up my phone stand to record a video of myself. I planned to post it online when I got home. In this era of highly developed internet economy, exceptional beauty can be monetized quickly. My account, where I frequently post study routines, now has 600,000 followers. Fans affectionately call me my girl, and they love watching me recite and study. A fair and pretty little girl, obedient and diligent in her studies. Who wouldn't want a daughter like this? Among a sea of attractive influencers, I quickly stood out, with 90% of my followers being women, gaining a group of internet moms. As I suspected, the system's collection of affection points isn't limited by gender. The love from internet moms is proof of my successful strategy, the beauty bestowed by the system, now enhanced by my student identity, no longer appears intimidating. Sometimes when I look in the mirror, I marvel at how extraordinary my face is. My account's inbox is flooded with messages from talent scouts, all insisting I should shine in the entertainment industry and become a big star. In her previous life, Linda briefly entered the entertainment industry, but her fame was fleeting, and she was soon hidden away by the men who adored her. Later, after she lost her beauty, marketing accounts often edited comparison photos of her, lamenting how time had aged the beauty, aged my foot. She was only 32 at the time. In this life, I no longer possess high intelligence, my mind is just at a normal level, so struggling to survive in the academic world is clearly not for me, but I don't plan to debut this early either. With some effort, ordinary people can also get into very good universities. In the internet economy, I can quickly monetize my beauty. Relying on looks is not a sustainable long-term strategy. My account is thriving, but Linda's performance has started to fluctuate. She angrily asked the system, "Aren't I supposed to be a top student? How can there still be problems I can't solve?" The system's mechanical voice was cold and stern. "I can only grant you intelligence. The host must study on their own. Linda isn't the type who can sit still. Forcing her to study would be worse than killing her." But after ranking second in the grade again, she had no choice but to start studying. With the system's support, she found studying effortless. Soon, she reclaimed the top spot in the grade. Our parents were extremely pleased. Everyone loves a well-behaved child who excels academically, and my parents are particularly fixated on educational achievements. Can't Heidi learn from her sister? You only ranked in the 70s in your grade, while Linda always comes in first. I tilted my head and smiled at him, saying, "Dad, but I've improved compared to before." The homeroom teacher said my grades are good enough to get into a decent university. My mother frowned. In her past life, she didn't like Linda either, especially as Linda grew more beautiful. She always thought Linda wasn't respectable. In this lifetime, this suspicion has fallen upon me. "I heard you've been getting close to some shady men. Heidi, don't you dare go out and disgrace our family." Linda looked at me with schadenfreude. After our parents finished venting their anger, she walked over with a smile, took my hand, and led me to look in the mirror together. "Sister, what use is beauty? This time, it's me whom our parents truly love." I looked at her and sighed silently in my heart. Why, even after living a second life, am I still so fixated on these things? Actually, neither parent loved me. They only favored children who could bring benefits to the family. In my past life, after I became a renowned scientist, my parents turned into role models among relatives and friends. They often dragged me out of the lab to meet people, just for appearances. Not everyone is fortunate enough to have parents who love their children unconditionally. Sometimes, parental love comes with a price, but it's okay. Life is about accepting imperfections. Linda told my parents about Lucas pursuing me. Lately, my mom has been watching me like a hawk. She was terrified that I might do something to disgrace the family, almost wishing she could tie me up at home to keep me from seeing anyone. "You must never do such disgraceful things. Men have plenty of opportunities in life. If you get into trouble, I won't be able to save you." In the old days, women who fooled around with men would be drowned in a pig cage. My mother's shrill voice echoed in my ears. I treated her as just a supporting character in some brain-dead novel and ignored her. But today, I didn't go straight home because Lucas stopped me at the school gate. "Heidi, your sister told me everything. You look down on me, don't you?" Linda knows Lucas very well. He's all brawn and no brains, with a short temper and a fragile ego. After realizing I kept rejecting him because I looked down on him, Lucas stormed up to me in a rage. He dragged me away from the school gate, his face twisted with anger as he demanded to know what I meant. "Look down on me, huh? I've got plenty of ways to deal with you." I looked helplessly at Lucas and let out a soft sigh. Same old trick. Are you going to bully me along with Linda too? Teenage boys are actually quite easy to fool, even someone like Lucas, who lacks a moral compass. without absolute certainty of victory, a head-on confrontation is particularly foolish. I still have a wonderful life ahead of me. I can't throw it away by going down with scum, who's bullying you. I covered my face and started crying. Refusing to speak no matter how Lucas asked. In the empty and deserted equipment room, only my sobbing could be heard, crying so much that it gave Lucas a headache. Linda pulled Frank along, heading toward the equipment room under the pretense of discussing homework. Lucas is the type to lose his temper without restraint. If he took Heidi away today, she would definitely face a bad outcome. She didn't just call Frank. She also called other classmates and even phoned her parents in advance, saying that her sister had run off with a troublemaker and couldn't be stopped no matter what. A group of people marched toward the equipment room in a grand procession. Along the way, Linda walked with a cheerful smile and light steps, as if she would soon witness Heidi's reputation being utterly ruined. Frank followed behind her, somewhat impatient. "Why do we have to go to the equipment room to do the problems?" Linda whispered. "I think the equipment room has a better atmosphere." Remembering there were a few classmates nearby, Frank didn't say anything more. As she opened the door to the lounge, Heidi saw her parents running over from a distance. She didn't even take a closer look at what was happening inside. As soon as she pulled the door open, she let out a scream. "Mom, don't come over here. How could my sister do something so shameful?" Upon hearing this, our parents immediately cursed the misfortune of our family, pushing past the stunned classmates to rush forward. Then they froze in the doorway. "Teacher Helen, what are you doing here?" Inside the equipment room, it wasn't the scene of Lucas and me pulling and tugging at each other as Linda had imagined, because there was a third person here, Lucas's sister, Teacher Helen. A spacious area was set up with a table, where Lucas and I sat on opposite sides. Teacher Helen held an exam paper in her hand, explaining the key points of the test. Seeing so many people standing at the door, I couldn't help but freeze. "Why are you all here? Are these two parents? What's the matter?" The atmosphere became extremely awkward in an instant. All the classmates who came with Linda heard what she had just said, but the scene inside the room clearly had nothing to do with embarrassment. My parents' curses were left half-spoken, neither swallowed nor spat out, choking my dad so much he nearly rolled his eyes. This, how is Teacher Helen with Heidi?" Helen's gaze was calm, carrying the particular sternness of a teacher. "Heidi has some questions she wanted to ask me. I promised to answer her questions after class." Hearing this, everyone turned to look at Linda. A classmate couldn't help but say, "Linda, didn't you just see Teacher Helen? Why would you say something like that?" "Yeah, you made me think Heidi was doing something in there." Frank, who was already somewhat impatient, looked even more displeased. Linda didn't understand Frank, thinking he was only sapiosexual, which was why he was so deeply infatuated with me in our past life. In reality, Frank only cared about benefits. His passionate pursuit of me in our previous life wasn't solely due to affection, it was mostly because of the project I was leading at the time. The groundbreaking achievements from that internationally top-tier research team could generate profits in the tens of thousands. Securing that collaboration would have elevated the Fu family to new heights. How could someone of Frank's background possibly have pure emotions? Though still young, this lifetime's Frank clearly shares the same thought patterns as his previous incarnation. From just a few words, he understood the reason Linda had called him over. "Linda, I didn't come with you to watch some catfight between sisters." "Frank." Linda called out Frank's name plaintively, but alas, her charming glances were wasted on blind eyes. "I didn't know my sister was here either. I must have been seeing things just now. I only saw Lucas and my sister, and I thought she deliberately paused and said ambiguously, "After all, everyone knows Lucas is pursuing my sister." Hearing the word, pursuing, my mom's face twisted. If it weren't for Ms. Helen being present, she probably would have started scolding me. In her eyes, any conflict between a man and a woman can be blamed on the woman's impropriety, physically in the present, mentally in the Qing dynasty. My mom is like a fish that slipped through the net of China's reform and opening up. If there were a chance, I'd suggest sending her to the Capitol Museum. She could vividly recreate the thoughts and feelings of ordinary people in the late Qing dynasty. My mom didn't speak, but Lucas did. Though he's a jerk, he's not completely brainless. I immediately realized that I had been used by Linda. "Linda, stop pretending. Didn't you tell me to come here today to find Heidi?" Lucas sneered. "I get it now. You set us up on purpose, didn't you? Do you think I'm like you, young in age but filthy in mind? Let me tell you, the relationship between Heidi and me is pure friendship between classmates. We came here today to study with my sister." "Study? Do you even understand that?" Are your tear ducts connected to your bladder, leaking urine from your eyes, making everyone look indecent to you? A dirty heart sees filth in everything. Linda, who had been mercilessly scolded by Lucas, could no longer bear the strange looks from others. Covering her face, she ran away in tears. My mother glared at me and hurriedly chased after him. Only after Lucas had finished speaking did Helen chime in apologetically, "Please don't mind him. My brother is a rebellious teenager who says whatever comes to mind." As she spoke, she signaled with her eyes for Lucas to apologize. Lucas let out a defiant grunt. "I'm sorry, uncle, but I love telling the truth." Faced with the teacher and a crowd of classmates, what else could my dad say? Even 10 faces wouldn't be enough to cover the shame. He stammered a few polite words and followed my mom out. Before leaving, he told me to come home as soon as I finished studying. A few classmates awkwardly bid farewell, hastily dispersing. To ensure my complete disgrace, Linda specifically summoned the class's notorious gossipmonger. "I trust the gossipmonger won't let me down. Linda's story will spread to every corner of the campus." After Lucas was sent home by Helen, she drove me back. The evening rush hour traffic was congested, with the dim twilight turning the sea of taillights into a beautiful crimson river. Helen asked me, "How could you be so sure Linda would bring people to the equipment room?" I smiled and said, "I started making arrangements the day she went to find Lucas." Contrary to what Linda imagined, although I always rejected Lucas, I actually maintained a casual yet consistent connection with him in private. Like nurturing a client, I often engaged in ambiguous conversations with Lucas, so I easily found out the time when Linda and Lucas were meeting, from the way Lucas replied to my messages. I guessed that Linda was trying to set a trap for me today. Based on my understanding of Linda, the only method she could think of was to expose the fact that Lucas and I were in a puppy love in front of everyone, making my parents disappointed in me and pushing me onto the same path she took in her previous life. In the previous life, Lucas and Linda were also caught by a teacher in the equipment room. Linda was taken home by my mother and disciplined severely. It was only after I promised to take good care of my sister that my mother agreed to let her return to school. She tried to repeat the same trick, calling our parents to take away my chance to study. She not only wanted to live the life I had in my past existence but also sought to destroy me. We share the same mother, the closest bond in this world, but twin flowers rooted in the same soil do not share the same breath and branches. Instead, they compete for each other's resources to nourish themselves. Whether it's because Linda killed me in my past life or because she tried to ruin me in this one, I shouldn't harbor any goodwill toward her. Teacher Helen, I'm very grateful that you were willing to believe me and play along with this act. As soon as I saw Lucas's figure at the school gate, I called Helen, which is why she was able to rush to the equipment room so quickly. I was fake crying in front of Lucas in the equipment room when Helen, one step ahead, pushed open the door with exam papers in hand. Helen focused on driving, her profile as fair as white jade. Behind her frameless glasses, her sharp gaze carried a unique blend of wisdom and calmness characteristic of accomplished women. "This isn't a hassle for me. As part of our collaboration, I'm happy to do you a small favor. To be honest, this is also a kind of test." Helen calmly analyzed her thoughts. "You say you can help me fight for the Duncan family inheritance, but I need to see your capabilities. Mere words won't suffice. I know my younger brother very well. He's just a simple-minded brute who relies on his physical strength and acts recklessly. He's not intelligent, nor does he possess any special skills, but he was fortunate enough to be born as the only male heir in our family, effortlessly inheriting the vast family fortune. Destroying him would be easy. But doing so without alerting my parents is not so simple. But you've done well, and I'm very satisfied. Pleasure working with you." "Yes, Helen and I are business partners." Helen studied at a prestigious business school abroad, but upon returning home, her family arranged for her to teach at a high school. She was also required to spend 3 days a week meeting men from similar backgrounds for arranged dates, all in preparation for a family alliance through marriage. Even so, in her past life, Helen managed to carve out her own path and became the head of the Duncan family. Though she doesn't remember, we were once comrades who trusted each other with our backs. The paths may differ, but with the right approach, one can still reach the destination. Sometimes I feel that life is much like a card game. Everyone starts with different hands, and the key to winning lies in how you arrange and combine your limited cards to maximize benefits. Whether it's the beauty system or the academic system, both can work with existing resources to achieve the ultimate goal. What matters is neither the system nor the cheat, but me. At home, Linda's eyes were red. Clearly, she had been crying for a long time. My parents had grim expressions, yet they couldn't bring themselves to scold me. Heidi, you're not a child anymore, you should still maintain some distance from your male classmates. Hanging out too closely with a troublemaker like Lucas will damage your reputation. My mother spoke earnestly, trying to steer me back onto what she considered the right path. Of course, I wouldn't waste my breath arguing with her. Mom, you're absolutely right, I actually don't want to get too close to Lucas either, but when Teacher Helen tutors me privately, she always brings Lucas along. As you know, Teacher Helen is the best instructor at our school, usually. Others can't even get a spot with her for tutoring. My mother frowned, her tone softening, since I was telling the truth. Your teacher should know better, especially knowing how Lucas is. I sighed. After all, Lucas is the teacher's own younger brother. My father chimed in. Indeed, it's only natural for an older sister to take care of her younger brother. I smiled without saying a word. My father was also speaking from the heart. He felt ashamed all his life for not having a son. In this dysfunctional family, it's only natural that Linda and I have a superficial relationship, but at least I never thought of harming her. I turned to look at Linda, and the secret only we knew was exchanged in our gazes. After our parents entered the bedroom, Linda glared at me with reddened eyes and said fiercely, Heidi, even if you dodged it this time, it's useless. I will become the youngest academician. The one who wins in the end will definitely be me. I smiled and nodded, then softly asked, Linda, am I beautiful? She snorted coldly. You haven't even managed to win over Lucas yet. Your progress is worse than mine in my previous life. What's the use of being pretty? The day you fail your mission, you'll lose everything. Heidi gave me a cold glance, carrying a malice and anticipation she herself hadn't noticed. Too bad, I'm destined to disappoint her. My video account is doing very well, and the love from my fans is genuine. The progress of my strategy far surpasses that of Linda in my previous life. On the other hand, she has been slacking off in her studies. Apart from being able to rank first in the grade, she hasn't made any progress. Binding with the top student system isn't something that can be achieved casually. It's just that its feedback is too subtle for Linda to notice. Since the incident in the equipment room, Linda's days at school haven't been as good as before. Jealousy is an emotion that can easily take root, so rumors spread throughout the school that Linda was jealous of her beautiful sister and always deliberately framed her. Better stay away from Linda. Who knows when she might frame you too. A straight-A student is really different from us, so sneaky, even framing her own sister. And Lucas also started leading the charge to make things difficult for Linda. Lucas had tried to make things difficult for me before, but he didn't succeed, after all. He's really not good at using his brain. However, making things difficult for Linda was much easier. Occasionally, I would warn Lucas not to go too far, though, of course, only superficially. In reality, I was subtly undermining Linda behind the scenes. I did the same things as Linda, but there's no shame in that. The only difference is that she failed, while I succeeded. During lunch break, Lucas came jogging over and brought me a trendy milk tea. He skipped classes all morning to queue up and buy it. In her past life, Linda didn't receive this kind of treatment because she couldn't understand the inherent flaws of men. What you can't have is always the best. Beauty is only responsible for catching the first glance, but it's not a long-term strategy. Lucas is now very serious about me and listens to me. At first, he only saw me as a beautiful object, pursuing me with the same mentality as plucking a flower upon sight. Only after investing more and more time and going through repeated back and forth with me did he become increasingly obsessed with me. Thank you, Lucas, but you really shouldn't skip classes so often. Lucas didn't seem to care. No big deal, whether I study or not makes no difference. I can't learn it anyway. He was quite honest about it. I stirred the straw and asked him seriously, if you don't like studying, then what do you enjoy doing? Lucas froze for a moment before whispering. Actually, I just like playing games. After saying this, he looked at me with some concern, perhaps afraid I'd scold him for being unproductive, but I nodded solemnly and said, that's perfectly fine too. It's good to have something you enjoy doing. You're really good at gaming. My account just keeps winning streaks whenever you play casually. My cousin still remembers and wants you to carry him again. Lucas is really easy to please. Praising his gaming skills makes him overjoyed. Hee. Just call me whenever you feel like playing. Okay. I paused for a moment and then asked, Lucas, do you plan to become a professional player in the future? You're so good at gaming. I remember you have 7 national titles. Lucas scratched his head. I really want to go pro, but my parents don't agree. They say I have to take over the family business and can't waste my life. I pretended to be troubled. Why is going pro considered wasting your life? I think doing what you love and creating value makes life meaningful. Lucas was somewhat moved. Heidi, do you really think going pro is a good path too? Of course, excelling at anything is great. What's wrong with pursuing your dreams? Should we wait until we're in our 30s or 40s to regret not doing it now? Lucas looked dazed, as if it was the first time someone had told him there was nothing wrong with chasing his dream of gaming professionally. I didn't interrupt his thoughts. Just planted a seed in his heart. In his previous life, Lucas was also persuaded by me to give up his family business and pursue a professional career. It just didn't go as smoothly as it does now. Meeting me was his bad luck. Helen asked me if I would feel guilty. After all, my foolish younger brother is really devoted to you now. I was a bit puzzled. Why should I feel guilty? I only encouraged him to pursue his dreams. Although I schemed against him, I didn't harm him, did I? Helen smiled with approval in her eyes. You've thought it through clearly. Of course, I've thought it through clearly. Using men to achieve one's goals is not shameful. Being used by men and losing everything is what's truly shameful. In the battlefield of fame and fortune, where daggers are drawn, beauty is also a resource to be mobilized. I hinted to Lucas to go pro. After Helen takes control of the Duncan family, I'll get a portion of the shares. At the same time, I can also use Helen's money to invest in projects from my previous life that haven't been launched yet. Truth be told, this world has never lacked geniuses. Even with the help of the top student system in my past life, that project wasn't solely my achievement. After being reborn, I lost the most crucial memories about this project and can no longer get involved. But this doesn't stop me from achieving my goal through indirect means. If I can't contribute effort, I can still contribute money. If a person were to live another life and still follow their old memories, that would be a bit foolish. For example, Linda is obsessed with replacing me and retracing my life, but she never considered how every tiny change could trigger a butterfly effect. While she was still struggling over whether to study for the next exam, I had already gained 1.35 million followers, with the affection meter fully maxed out. The system reminded me, host, your affection meter is very high. But the love from fans isn't the only or the most genuine. Of course, I knew that, to find true love, I couldn't rely on internet moms, but there was no rush. Slow and steady would do. As my follower count grew, my account was discovered by people I know. First, it was my classmates. Damn, Heidi, you're a big internet celebrity now. Seriously, over 1 million followers. That's amazing. Can I take a photo with you and post it online? I smiled and said, of course you can. Classmates who took photos with me would post about me on social media. In everyone's descriptions, I was portrayed as a simple, beautiful, honest, and studious girl. This also aligned with how my fans perceived me, so I gained followers even faster, and with this account, I landed quite a few ads. Saving up a hefty sum of money, however, Linda soon found out about it too. When I got home from school, my parents were sitting on the couch, both with cold expressions. Linda sat to the side, eyes glinting with amusement, watching me with schadenfreude. Heidi, my mother was the first to speak. Do you know that a student's main focus should be studying? Who told you to flaunt yourself online? Delete that account immediately. Linda, standing nearby, softly interjected, Mom. Don't scold sister, she probably just wanted to try something else because her grades aren't good, right? It's not bad being an internet celebrity. Even if I don't go to college in the future, I can still support myself. My mom grew angrier as she listened. How dare she? She turned her head and scolded me sharply. What kind of decent person would show their face all over the internet? If you still consider me your mother, you'd better snap out of it. I sighed. Mom, I actually only post about my daily study routine. Posting videos is just wrong. Who in their right mind records videos while studying seriously? No wonder you can't pass exams like Linda. Your mind isn't even focused on studying. I deliberately provoked her. Mom, do you think everything I do is wrong? Then I turned around, tears in my eyes, and asked my dad, Dad, do you also think posting about my study routine is wrong? My dad sighed, you're really being unreasonable. How many of those internet celebrities are actually good people? In the past, I was always obedient and never talked back to my parents, no matter what they said, but this time, I suddenly exploded and vented my emotions at them. I concluded with, do you favor my younger sister just because she gets better grades? After saying that, I ran out of the house in tears. By the time my dad realized what was happening and chased after me, I was already sitting in Helen's understated and steady Maybach, sipping milk tea while editing videos. The next day in class, Linda anxiously approached me and said in front of all our classmates, "Sis, you didn't come home last night. Mom and Dad were so worried. Where were you all night? Today, I saw you arrive at school in a man's car. Sister, don't ruin your whole life just out of spite." As the classmates exchanged bewildered looks, my parents also arrived. My mother looked at me as if seeing a sworn enemy and, without a word, slapped me across the face. "Heidi, have you no shame? Linda told me you stayed out all night and left with a man. You're really going to embarrass me completely." The morning self-study teacher arrived late, parent of student Lynn. "Let's discuss the matter in the office first." Black long straight hair, frameless glasses, and a brown trench coat. The teacher who arrived happened to be Helen. After finishing talking about my parents, she sharply turned her gaze toward Linda. "Linda, last night after Heidi left home, she called me. I was the one who brought her to school this morning." Helen adjusted her glasses and said, "Although the clouds were quite thick this morning and the sun wasn't visible, that doesn't mean you should mistake me for a man, does it?" The classmates burst into laughter. Linda's face gradually darkened, with a trace of lingering joy in her eyes that made her look somewhat ridiculous. "I hope all the students will take this as a lesson. Don't believe everything you hear. Rumors stop with the wise. When spreading information, if you can't ensure its truthfulness, you shouldn't say it. This is not only being responsible to the person involved but also to yourself." With that, Helen picked up her books and left, calling my parents to join her in the office. I bit my lip, tears welling up in my eyes, looking like a pitiful, wronged little flower. This expression was incredibly powerful. The classmates who were already somewhat swayed by Helen's words became even more indignant when they saw me like this. "Linda, why do you always spread rumors about your sister? Yeah, wasn't it the same last time in the equipment room? Are you jealous of your sister? If she's pretty, blame your own bad genes. How can you be jealous and harm others?" Her words were as sharp as a knife. Linda covered her face and ran out the door in tears. She was probably wondering why, even after switching systems, she was still the one being targeted and mocked. At the end of the hallway, Linda growled at me, "Heidi, you must be so pleased with yourself, right? I get it now. People only like hypocrites like you." I smiled and said, "Don't play the innocent victim. You tried to harm me but failed because you're just stupid. After being reborn, you're still as foolish as in your past life." Linda was so angry she wanted to scream, but she suppressed her rage. Just empty words. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? Professor Lincoln is coming to the school soon to select students, and this time he'll take me with him. So what if you become an internet celebrity? You couldn't even win over Lucas. Do you really think being A will help you succeed with anyone else?" She composed herself, then slowly turned and knocked on the office door. I lowered my head, concealing the faint trace of irony in my eyes. Professor Lincoln was my mentor in my previous life. Before the college entrance exam, he personally came to the school to select me as his final disciple. It was through him that I gained access to cutting-edge physics and gradually broadened my horizons. But Linda didn't know that the professor came to the school because I had solved the assessment problem he had set. He chose me first before coming to the school. "So, Linda, who's still anxiously waiting for Professor Lincoln, did you answer the questions he left behind?" "I guess probably not. The system doesn't guide the host to complete tasks, it only provides assistance." Given Linda's personality, she probably wouldn't assign herself any extra study tasks, making someone who doesn't like studying become a top student. I wonder which is more miserable, the study system or Linda herself. In the office, Helen was still talking with my parents. "Heidi is at a critical stage for the college entrance exams right now. Any issues can wait until after the exams are over. Don't let this affect the child." I also checked Heidi's video account, and there's nothing inappropriate, just study-related content. "That's great. Heidi has always been diligent in her studies with good habits. Sharing study notes can help a lot of people." My mom always acts subserviently around teachers. Hearing Helen say that, she immediately nodded in support of my studies. My dad also forced a smile along, but I threw a tantrum, stubbornly declaring that I absolutely wouldn't go home. "What are you making a fuss about? Do you expect your mother to apologize to you?" My father angrily scolded me, while my mother wiped her tears and complained that I had grown up and become too independent. Linda also wiped away her tears. Her acting skills are still a bit better than mine. She didn't even have to pinch her thigh. "Sis, you should just go home. It's all my fault for worrying too much and telling Mom and Dad about your situation." Helen sighed, like a selfless teacher devoted to her students. "All right, let Heidi stay at my place for now. This way you can feel more at ease. I can also tutor her with her studies and help her with last-minute exam preparation." the sound of crying suddenly stopped. Mom and Dad looked at each other, seemingly surprised by how kind teacher Helen was being to me. How could it be appropriate for her to stay at the teacher's house? Anyway, we won't be staying here for long. Once the exams are over, we can just let Heidi go back. With Helen's support, I smoothly moved out from home. As for Linda, unable to bear her classmates' sarcastic remarks, she chose to go home to study before the exams. Anyway, with the top student system support, it's the same for her whether she's at home or not. Linda was at home, anxiously counting the days until Professor Lincoln would arrive at the school, dreaming of the moment she could return to campus with her head held high. However, I checked Professor Lincoln's recent schedule, and China might not be among his planned destinations. Poor little sister, she's going to be disappointed again. After moving into Helen's place, it became much easier for the two of us to communicate. She handed me a stack of property listings and asked, "Which one do you like? I'll give it to you." Recently, Lucas has been sneaking off to tryouts without telling his family. He's genuinely skilled at gaming. Helen and I had planned to pull some strings to get him into a team, but it turned out to be unnecessary. Lucas was already somewhat famous in the gaming community, with several teams reaching out to him. I asked Helen, "Lucas is going pro. But he hasn't given up on inheriting the family business either. Have you thought about how to handle it after he retires?" Helen fiddled with the house information and flashed a bright smile. "That's something 5 or 6 years from now. If I can't establish myself firmly within 5 years, then I deserve to pave the way for Lucas. What about you? Leaving home is just the first step, right? What are you planning to do next?" I smiled and said, "Of course. To give my sister a lesson she'll never forget." Recently, Linda has been quietly reaching out to Frank. In her past life, she relied solely on her beauty to charge ahead, never truly understanding how to win a man's heart. This time, she wanted to try the same old trick, using her intelligence as if it were beauty. The results probably aren't very good. After all, Frank values benefits. Whether someone is beautiful or smart doesn't really matter. Sometimes I also find Linda quite amusing. Whether in her past life or this one, she never seems to consider succeeding on her own merits, beauty, or intelligence. They all become tools to find a powerful man. No matter how many lifetimes I live, I'll never understand her way of thinking. Linda hinted to Frank that she would become Professor Lincoln's last disciple. Frank immediately took an interest in her and took her out to dinner several times. At this point, my mother was actually quite pleased, as she always assumed Linda was going out to study with classmates, just like how she treated me in my past life. Actually, my mom doesn't particularly favor academically successful children. After all, my grades are far from bad. She just hates pretty girls. But theoretically, this isn't her fault. My dad had a white moonlight first love, and he once almost abandoned his wife and child for her. Unfortunately, that white moonlight only saw my dad as a backup. The moment she found a better option, she immediately dropped him. My mother, trapped in endless internal conflict, transformed the pain of her failed marriage into resentment towards beautiful women. This is somewhat laughable, when clearly the root cause of all this was my father. He was irresponsible towards the family, yet my mother harbored no resentment towards him, instead directing it at outsiders. This is rather nonsensical. After Linda connected with Frank, she finally returned to school, just like in her past life. She mistook everyone's hostility toward her as jealousy. I call this behavior a stray dog guarding its food. At the stairwell, Linda smugly blocked my way. "Heidi, it must hurt to see me with Frank, doesn't it?" I looked at her in astonishment, utterly perplexed. "Today is the day Professor Lincoln comes to the school. The teacher who once belonged to you will only favor me this time. Unfortunately, Professor Lincoln is not in the country. He should be on vacation on a small island in Thailand right now, and if nothing unexpected happens, he has probably already met Helen, who is carrying a collaboration proposal. Frank has always wanted to find a way to become Professor Lincoln's student, but Professor Lincoln is not easy to please. Fortunately, I was once his favorite student." "Linda, I've never really understood why you always treat me as an enemy. When we're clearly bound to different systems, you live your life, and I have my own things to do. We have nothing to do with each other, right?" Perhaps Linda herself had never considered the answer to this question. She didn't answer me. After giving me a resentful look, she turned and left. I shook my head, sighed, and returned to the classroom. All day long, Linda was absent-minded. She kept glancing out the window, hoping to spot any unfamiliar figures, but as the sun set, Professor Lincoln still hadn't appeared. Finally, unable to hold back any longer, she rushed to the teacher's office. No one knows what she asked, but after a long while, she ran out in tears. What on earth did you do, Heidi? Why didn't Professor Lincoln come today? I tilted my head and looked at her, confused. What are you talking about? What professor? She fumed with anger. Don't play dumb, it's obvious, it's clearly. I cut her off, my expression turning cold. I've already left home under your pressure. What more do you want? As soon as the words were spoken, someone immediately stood up for me. Linda was cornered but couldn't explain herself clearly, and with reddened eyes, she ran out of the classroom. Classmates came over to comfort me. Is your sister studying herself silly or what? What's really going on with her? The exams are coming up soon. Heidi, don't take it to heart. A few familiar classmates know how biased my parents are. Once you go to college and leave home, things will get better. Yeah, your account is so popular. You won't even need their living expenses. Just stay far away from them then. I pursed my lips, looking as if I had suffered a great injustice, yet in my heart, I was secretly calculating my next move. Linda never came back to school, and her relationship with Frank was hanging by a thread. She was probably still lying, planning to contact Professor Lincoln on her own, but at this time, Professor Lincoln had already secured Helen's sponsorship and began the busy preparations. Lucas's rebellious act of running off to play games was discovered by his family, but he refused to return home no matter what. Amid her parents' distress, Helen expressed her willingness to help her brothers share the burden first. Anyway, Lucas still needs a few more years of experience. I'll manage the family business for him in the meantime. It's better than outsiders interfering. By the time Lucas returns, I'll be married off. Just perfect timing. Mr. and Mrs. Sue didn't suspect her. After careful consideration, they thought it was a good idea and even praised Helen for being sensible. Before the college entrance exams, my parents finally remembered they had another daughter who wasn't at home. They took me back to have a meal with Linda. Linda is sure to be the top scorer in the college entrance exam. Linda also smiled smugly. By the sink in the bathroom, Linda said coldly, you can stop Professor Lincoln, but you can never stop me from taking the college entrance exam. Sister, as long as I'm still bound to the academic genius system, I will definitely rise to prominence. But what about you? How's your strategy mission going? I smiled but said nothing. She really is a child with a somewhat naive foolishness. If I can't stop the college entrance exam, I can at least stop her. On the day of the college entrance exam, Helen stepped in and hired someone on my behalf to intercept Linda's car. She missed the exam because of it. This was the fatal blow I prepared for Linda. In the top student systems tasks, the college entrance exam is a crucial part. If this one fails, given Linda's progress, she simply won't be able to pass. How could I possibly allow someone bound to a counterattack system, who also harbors hostility towards me, to swagger around freely? Petty skirmishes are meaningless. If you're going to act, make it a decisive, fatal blow. This is the final lesson I, as her elder sister, will teach Linda. Linda, injured in a brawl involving passers-by, fell into a coma, completely missed the time for the college entrance exam. As for me, I performed as usual. It was pretty much as I had estimated. When I walked out of the exam hall, the reporters at the door saw me and their eyes lit up. Is this classmate Heidi? I smiled and greeted the camera. Hello everyone, I'm Heidi. Do you have anything you'd like to say to everyone? Hard work will never be in vain. After finishing the exam, Linda finally woke up. She completely lost her mind. She cried for a long time at home with her parents, who said it wouldn't matter if she repeated a year. But both Linda and I knew it was impossible. She missed Professor Lincoln and also missed the college entrance exam. She had no chance left. Soon, the academic overachiever system would reclaim all its cheat codes, and she would revert to her original self, never to be a genius again. It's unclear how Linda explained it to her parents, but in the end, they seemed to reach an agreement. My dad called me back home. Heidi, you should repeat a year of study. Let Linda attend the university in your place. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Dad, do you think the admissions office is blind, or do I look like Heidi to you? What's wrong with letting your twin sister go to school? Linda is smart, she'll definitely be fine. You can take the exam again next year. I took out my phone, opened the camera, and took a photo of me and Linda. Anyone with eyes can see there's a big difference between us, right? In the photo, Linda is beautiful while I can only be described as plain. She is not like my past self, nor am I like her past self. Perhaps appearances reflect the heart. Dad, Mom, even if Linda and I looked exactly alike, I wouldn't give up my chance to attend college for her. Linda, tell me, how could it be such a coincidence that someone would be fighting right on the path you had to take to the exam hall? Linda widened her eyes. breathing rapidly. Did you do this? Mom and Dad also looked at me in astonishment. What? I pursed my lips and smiled, not answering them, only saying one sentence, guess what, my father. Furious and beside himself, raised his hand to strike me. I nimbly dodged the blow. From the moment I entered, I had been standing by the door without moving, precisely to make it easier to leave. Seizing the moment while the three were stunned, I immediately turned and rushed out the door, pressing the elevator button in a frantic escape. After running out of the neighborhood, I raised my hand and slapped myself hard across the face. Then, I opened my phone and recorded a video of myself. Sitting in the taxi, I imported the freshly recorded video into the drafts folder. A text message from an unknown number arrived on my phone. It's Linda. If I'm not doing well, don't think you'll be doing well either. The way Linda made life difficult for me was by dragging our parents into publicly denouncing me online. With tears streaming down her face, she called for her sister to come home, saying she would forgive her sister for deliberately sabotaging her college entrance exams. My parents looked as if our family had been disgraced. Linda even bought a trending search spot, and soon, hashtags about me soared to the top of the trending list. Hashtag classmate Heidi, hashtag Heidi schemer, hashtag poor Heidi. She really got the short end of the stick. Hashtag. After the incident blew up, a bunch of people came asking me what happened. The internet moms in the group chat were furious. There's no way Heidi could be like that. Like, how could she possibly have that much power? Everyone's trust in me moved me deeply, even to the point of feeling a bit guilty, because from start to finish, Linda only told this one truth. The person who prevented her from taking the college entrance exam was really me. Seizing the momentum of the moment, I posted the pre-prepared video on my own account. I've always kept silent about my family. It's not what everyone thinks, not for the sake of privacy, but because I have an unfortunate family. The video includes photos I took and recordings I made, including my mother's slut-shaming of me and the way my parents favor Linda. At the end of the video is the slap mark on my face when I left home for the last time. I deliberately provoked Linda and my parents. I've been planning for this day since my rebirth. Children who wish to distance themselves from their parents on moral high ground must endure immense hardship. But fortunately, my plan succeeded. The video went viral as soon as it was posted. Favoritism has always been a common issue in families with multiple children. Through my videos, people began to empathize and share their own experiences. Making peace with oneself is a lifelong lesson for every child with family of origin issues. Fortunately, I've long passed the age of begging my parents for love, with video evidence. My parents' accusations against me are no longer trusted by others. Linda was also heavily criticized. The beauty system informed me that Linda had lost the academic genius system. Host, now that the issue over there is resolved, how do you plan to complete the mission? The beauty system was probably puzzled, as I hardly even contacted Lucas anymore and seemed to have lost interest in pursuing men. You will lose everything just like Linda if the mission remains uncompleted. I lowered my eyes and smiled. Of course, I will complete the mission. The account, classmate Heidi, was my experiment for the mission, and it also proved my speculation correct. There are many ways to obtain true love in this world, and those who can give me love are not limited to just men. After obtaining Helen's promised partial equity, I used the money to invest in several projects. All were projects I knew from my past life that were guaranteed to make money. Helen also began gradually sidelining Mr. Sue, tightening control over the family business and shifting all the shady dealings onto him. My father can go to prison, but I can't. Anyway, all those messed up things were done by him. I checked the legal code. His crimes don't deserve death. Let me think it over a bit more, then I'll send my dad in. Great, what a filial child. No wonder we've been in perfect harmony for 2 lifetimes. Once Professor Lincoln's research results were published, Helen immediately put them into practice. In my past life, Frank pursued me relentlessly for the sake of the Fu family, and now in this life, he started relentlessly pursuing Helen. See, this is how hypocritical a man's affection can be. If Linda could place less hope in men, she probably wouldn't have lost the system in both lifetimes. Nowadays, Linda hasn't developed good reading habits. Without systematic support, repeating 2 years of study had little effect. And she ended up hastily attending a poorly regarded local school. She still hasn't found a job and is living off her parents at home. I once went home and saw her from a distance. Mom and Linda were arguing at the entrance of the neighborhood. Mom said she was lazy and gluttonous, and it would have been better to keep her sister back then. Linda showed no mercy, saying she deserved it. This is what you owe me, you deserve it. I watched from behind the tree for a long time, saying nothing. And left in silence, Linda attempted suicide several times afterward but never succeeded. Her mind became somewhat disturbed, and she kept muttering about wanting to go back to the past to make different choices. Sometimes I think Linda is very much like Mom. They always shift the blame onto others, never reflecting on themselves, and only avoid problems when they arise. If one cannot face life's tests head-on, then it's understandable to write the wrong answers. After Linda became like this, my parents reached out to me several times to reconnect. They finally realized that the youngest daughter could no longer bring them any benefits, while the eldest daughter was thriving, but now they can hardly find me, as I'm busy traveling the world and scouting projects along the way. Helen called and asked, "Are you planning to sponsor new girls from mountainous areas this year?" "Of course, as long as I'm alive. I'll keep running the Reading Foundation." Over the past few years, I have been investing in public welfare initiatives for the protection of girls, dedicating myself to the education of women in mountainous areas, while also sponsoring many children eager to change their destinies through education. Students I sponsor also have the opportunity to intern at Helen's company. They are hardworking and ambitious, and now 2 of Helen's most capable assistants are students sponsored by my foundation. I have received letters from many places. Stepping out of the mountain village, everyone shines in their own field. Fate does not disappoint those who strive. After establishing the foundation, my strategic tasks were gradually completed. This world has never lacked genuine love. The children I had sponsored all gave me the most sincere love in return. On the day the final mission was completed, the beauty system bid me a solemn farewell. "You're the most unconventional host I've ever seen, but I really like you. I wish your future life to be just as brilliant." I don't know if this counts as a life turnaround, but I know, even without the beauty system's enhancement, I would still live a good life. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.